Hey everybody, welcome to our series on joy. We're on part 1. I'm really excited about this series. It's a small word, joy, J-O-Y, 3-letter word, but a very powerful word. It's something that I believe everybody is searching for, joy. They want to be, another term is happy. And I'm not saying happiness and joy are the same thing, but generally we can all relate to this idea of wanting to not feel bad, right? To not feel fear, to not feel sad, to not feel down, to not feel disappointed. We want to be happy. And I think the spiritual version of that is to be filled with joy. And it's interesting, we pursue this joy in what looks to be many different ways. It kind of plays out for different people in different ways. It can be we want to make enough money or earn enough money or have enough money in the bank. We want to have a big enough or the right position in our company. But it might not be our company with the right position in our church or in our community or, whatever that might be. Or through our kids, right? We live vicariously through them and we want them to achieve things. And that makes us, full of joy. Or just our health or the house we have or the car we drive or the things we have. They play out differently, but at the end of the day, what I think we're really pursuing is not just a moment of joy, because we all have moments of joy, but I think what we're all pursuing is a lifetime of joy. Well, we're not pursuing joy in the present moment, but more we want this joy assured to us for a long time to come. And it's interesting because there's a lot of other things that we can do in life that we do kind of gain enough of it to assure ourselves we're going to have it. So we can have enough money in the bank to at least know we're going to make it through the rest of the year, right? I'm not saying everybody is at that place, but you could, right? You can buy the car and of course it can break, but you can know you're going to be driving that, right? You can buy a house and have it completely paid off, etc. But with joy, despite those things, even if all those things are in place, it still seems to, for most of us, ebb up and down, right? And what I think we try to do is say, what can I do? My whole journey, my whole scramble in life, right? The mountain I need to climb and secure is the fact that I'm going to have joy every day. So anyway, we're looking at Philippians. It's a fantastic letter written by Paul, the Apostle Paul. And it's unique in a couple of ways. One, it's one of his few letters that does not really have a lot of correcting to do. The people in Philippi were doing good things for the most part. The second thing is that he was writing the letter from prison. So he's in chains, in prison, not in a good place, obviously, and yet the letter is full of a lot of joy and hope and good things. And we're going to look especially at chapter 1, verse 9 through 11. And in chapter 1, verse 9 through 11, what Paul essentially talks about, and you can read the whole thing, but what it comes down to is he says, here's what I really want. I want you to understand what really matters. That's in verse 10. Then in 11, he says, may you always be filled with the fruit of your salvation. And this is the fruit of your salvation, the righteous character produced in your life by Jesus Christ. And this is what I believe that Paul understood as he's sitting there in this prison. So he doesn't have the car. He doesn't have the house. He's not married. He doesn't have the wife or the kids. He doesn't have the money, that's for sure. He doesn't have the position in society, at least not, in the normal everyday society, maybe in the spiritual world, right? He does, but not in the normal everyday. He doesn't have anything. I mean, he's really been stripped of everything. And here's what Paul recognizes and realizes. His chains in that prison free him from other chains that he used to have in his life. Because being in that prison stripped him, and that's kind of Hebrews 12:1, right? Taking away all the weight that hinders, that slows us down. Now let us run the race without these things that hinder on us. Going into that prison, I'm not saying that's the only thing that did it for him. Maybe he had it before he went into prison. But I believe that he recognized that in prison, being free from all the worldly things that you would think might bring joy, he came to the conclusion, I want you to understand what really matters. He had to be sitting there thinking, you know what? None of that stuff really matters. And he said, what really matters is the righteous character produced in your life by Jesus Christ. For this will bring much glory and praise to God. I think at the end of the day, what he recognized is, before we talk about anything else in this series about joy, we've got to talk about in our hearts and our minds being right with God, being obedient to God. And why? Because God is the only source of joy. Now, God gives us joy through our kids, through our jobs, through the things that we do, but it's not from those things. You see the difference? It's not from those things. We don't rely on those things to get joy. Now, God can give us joy through those things, but true joy is only going to come through him. It's not going to come through him, though, and from him if we don't have a right relationship with him. So what he's saying is every day you wake up, whether you've got a lot of money or a little, whether you're in the position you want or not, humbled in a low position or way up top of the CEO position, whether your kids are the star of the basketball team or sitting on the bench or whatever it might be, you've got the car you want or you don't have it, whatever it might be, those things aren't going to bring you joy. But here's what will stop your joy: not being obedient to God, because it will cut off that relationship with the only source of joy there is. So it starts with a right relationship with God. We can't do anything else in this series on joy if we don't first say it starts with obedience, a consistent daily obedience. And that's what he recognized, in that prison. So thank you for joining us on part 1. We'll look at part 2 tomorrow.